This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Scarecrows frightened of a clown that's laughing, boys. I am a Bat-Fan. I am a Bat-Fan. Shine that signal, come out to play. I am a Bat-Fan. I am a Bat-Fan. Bring it on, Batman. Jump out your cave, 'cause I am a Bat-Fan. I am a Bat-Fan. Shine that signal, come out and play. I am a Bat-Fan. I am a Bat-Fan. Bring it on, Batman. Jump out your cave. Jump out your cave.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 252 of It's All Tim's Fault. But for this episode, Dane is sharing the blame with me, since it was another missing gap between episodes on our normal schedule. But we're back now, so joining me in sharing the blame is Dane himself. What's up, Dane?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tim. I went on a work trip, unexpected work trip, that week that we were supposed to record. And when it came time to record, I ended up just sleeping in because of the jet lag and everything. I didn't think 3 hours would be that much, but oh man, yeah, it hit me really, really bad.
Understandable. But
Yeah.
it just sucks because you're in LA. Obviously, I'm in California, not so
Yeah.
far from that. You got to come down here when it's not work related, though, so it can actually
Yeah.
meet up and do things.
Well, you see that was the thing, because I was there for 7 days and ended up only working 3,
What?
right? Because of the weekend. So, actually, really, really nice. First time in LA. I've never been to LA. I've been to San Francisco, San Diego. Never been to LA. The awkward part was, so my job put me at the Four Seasons Beverly Hills.
Oh.
So you can imagine me going to work in jeans, my work shoes, regular old T-shirt, and coming back covered in dirt. And
Were people eyeing you and
kind
giving
of
you
grass?
weird looks?
Yeah. If I didn't feel underdressed when checking in, I felt underdressed, massively underdressed. After, when I came back, covered in dirt and mud and, all grass and leaves and stuff.
Oh man.
So yeah, I
like-
actually took off my shoes when I went in the lobby. I felt bad.
Did like the doorman or someone go like, "Sir, are you sure you're at the right hotel?" Or
Yeah.
Should it-
Well, I got a few strange looks. I'm not gonna lie. I got a few strange looks from people dressed in very nice, expensive clothing. The hotel, the room was nice, really, really nice. Nicer than I've ever been in, to be honest.
I bet.
But yeah, ended up working 3 days. Yeah, and had the rest of the time to myself. So yeah, that was my trip. Didn't really do anything. Went to eat at a couple of places. Tried to go to do a couple of things, but I don't know. It was just too crowded, and going in there by myself was a little weird.
Mm.
Just walking around, I went on the infamous or famous Rodeo Drive. Didn't buy anything because everything looked
Smart
expensive,
decision.
I should say. Yeah. So I saw where they record Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Yeah. Did you see any of
I
the
just thought,
superheroes walking down the Hollywood
no,
Boulevard? Aw.
did I? No, I don't think so. Man, I've never seen a street crowded like that. I mean, there's so many people walking. But yeah, saw the Jimmy Kimmel Live studio where they record that. Saw that Oscars store. But yeah, just didn't do much. I should have done more. But it was my first time in LA. I've never really I've been to the airport, but that's not really visiting. So
that's not a fun experience either.
yeah, yeah,
LAX.
yeah, not too good. But yeah, just walked around. Most of the places were closed by the time I was finished with work. Yeah, and just hung out around the hotel area. Yeah, so good work trip.
Well, next time you're down here, it has to be for fun. You got to come down. We'll go to take a trip to Disneyland, experience Galaxy's Edge together, do all that fun
Yeah,
stuff. The real fun stuff in California. So.
the real fun stuff.
All right. So that's why it's all Dane's fault for
Yeah.
the big gap between episodes. Who knows? It'll
Yeah,
probably be
the
my fault next time. So.
The unexpected work trip was the problem.
And with that, we got a lot of stuff to talk about on this one. So let's get the show on the road, as always, with our Fellowship of the Ring minute-by-minute commentary. And we're going to be going from minute 39 to minute 40, another milestone in our commentary, as we get closer to that big hour mark, which is still not very close to the end of the movie, though. But we'll take the small milestones as we can get on with this. So, as always, go ahead and grab your VHS copy, your Betamax copy, your DVD copy, Laserdisc, your HD DVD copy, your Blu-ray copy, your UMD copy. I didn't forget that one towards the end this time. I finally remember. Your Blockbuster membership card, so you can go rent it. Your Netflix physical media version from the mailbox. Your DVHS version. And as always, your converted VHS to DVD copy that we made on a PC. So, take any of those lovely options, and I'll give the countdown. Dan, are you ready?
Was the PSP before the PS Vita?
Yeah, that was their first one.
Yeah, PSP was their first one, right?
Yes.
And
I don't think the
PS
Vita didn't have any physical media. Wasn't it all digital games?
Yeah, it was digital.
Yeah.
And then was the PS Go or something, or am I just making that up?
I don't think so. No.
Hmm.
I think that was a Nintendo
PS Vita
one.
was their last.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Like
their
when
last
Nintendo's handheld was a Go. Had the Go name at the end of it.
Game Boy Go.
The DS Go or the
DS Go. Yeah.
one of them, yeah. Which is a shame the Vita didn't have any physical media, because it's another option we could list at the beginning of our commentary intro. So we could
Well, we kind of do, right? Because you would have to download the movie, right?
That's true.
Yeah, on the PS Go. I mean,
I
PS
wonder
Vita.
how big its memory storage was on that device.
Probably not that big, because I'm looking at the Steam Deck, the Valve handheld, and it starts at 64. So that's like what, one game that you can fit on there?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
How old is the Vita now? Like 10 years old, probably? So I imagine the storage space might have been even smaller than that for a handheld that old.
Yeah, like 32.
That sounds about right.
could fit like barely one game. or no, you have to stream the rest of the data.
Oh god.
You can only fill up 32, and then you gotta stream the rest.
So that's all. That'd be a nightmare. Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to watch Lord of the Rings on there. Not the extended edition.
No.
So
PSP, you'd have to have like 3 or 4 UMDs, right?
I go 5.
5.
Constantly switching them out.
Yeah. I can't remember how is the battery life on PSP.
Wasn't great. I don't remember it being too good. I would usually have the battery charger plugged into it when I would play a lot.
Yeah. Well, the PSP, you could extend the storage, right?
I don't think so.
With a card.
Could you? Well, maybe you
Right?
could. I never did it. I never really had to. But
Yeah, because you just bought the physical
yeah.
UMD. Yeah.
And save files weren't that big.
Oh,
So I guess, unfortunately, anyone listening won't be watching Lord of the Rings with us on their Vita. But we got all those other options, though. You're so good.
wasn't the screen smaller too? It was.
I never actually seen one or held one in person. So
Yeah, me neither.
that's what
Anyway, I'm sorry to distract us.
the PS Vita side tangent that I never knew would come.
Yeah. But yes, I'm ready, Tim. I'm ready to do this. Let's go.
3 minute 39. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, play. A great starting shot with the ring just sitting on the table. I will say I need to catch up or get going again on my Lord of the Rings book reading. I was going to start the Silmarillion. I got sidetracked with other things, but I got all those books, as I talked about recently. I need to get back into it.
Yeah, you bought all of them, Tim.
Not even all of them, really. There's more.
No. There's more merch.
Oh, yes. We talked about it, too, I think, on our last one, just how different the scene is or longer in the book, but this is still a great adaptation of it in the movie.
Why would you make your doorways round?
Why not?
Oh yeah, I guess.
That's the beauty about the Shire and the Hobbit holes. I mean, it wouldn't be the same if they didn't have those round walkways, round doors. It's just a pleasing visual aesthetic.
I wonder if it holds up good against earthquakes.
I hope so. I mean, they're still there as far as like tourist attractions, so I guess they must.
Does New Zealand get a lot of earthquakes?
They get some. I don't know about a lot though, but
yeah. And
that's our minute right there. And again, I'm
all
kind
right.
of a bummer note about earthquakes, but we'll try to keep it more positive on the next one.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, let's get into it. Like I said, a lot of stuff to talk about. So the first thing I want to give a review of, because we got TV shows to talk about, gaming news I want to talk about. But first, I'll talk about the latest comic book movie that came out just a week ago, which was Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which I did see last weekend. And judging by the box office results, not too many others saw it, which is a shame. But yeah, it was for an opening week. I saw it on a Sunday. I couldn't see it on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon like I usually do. But on a Sunday afternoon, it wasn't a very full theater when I went to see it.
Oh no. Yeah. I totally forgot about that movie. To be honest, like the whole production, the trailers, and going to see it. So I guess I'm part of the the rest of the people.
You're part of the problem, Dane.
I did see Everything Everywhere All at Once though.
I still need to check that out.
Yeah,
I mean,
on the plane ride back.
Even before it won all the Oscars, I know people were, when it first came out, people were at work telling me to see it. I just haven't got around to it, but I want to though, and I probably will soon.
Yeah, it's really good. It's weird. It's really weird,
That's what I hear.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. It really gets its message across, I'd say. Yeah,
That's good.
but Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods, I totally missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem was a little bit of the marketing too. There wasn't a lot of build up, and when the trailers came out, even for me, like I wasn't super pumped to see it. The trailers, I mean, it looked like okay, it just felt like it's going to be fun, but it just felt very generic of a superhero movie. So of course I was going to see it because I really liked the first one. I just watched it not too long ago, and I think it's great. It's just a great origin story. It's just a very fun, different type of comic book movie. So I really liked it, the first one. But for this one, just the trailers never really grabbed me that much to get me really excited. The second one I thought was a little better, kind of showing more of what the plot was going to be. So going into it, I was expecting just a good fun time at the movies, and that's pretty much what I got. I didn't love it. It's definitely a step down from the first one. There were some issues with it for me, but at the end of the day, it was a fun time spending a Sunday afternoon seeing some superhero action. But I thought it started off pretty solid. I'm continuing on where the first one left off and introducing the new plot for the second movie. I found interesting at the start, where you got the daughters of Atlas as the main villains, Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, as we saw them in the trailers. They are kind of reawakened after Shazam broke the wizard staff that gave everyone them powers, but it's doing that broke off a seal from the gods who are still alive, and they want to reclaim that power back. That was their father's. So there were some interesting ideas brought up too in there as far as with the kids, the foster kids, about Billy Batson and Mary kind of aging out and what that's going to mean for them. They're going to have to leave their foster home. So interesting ideas there, but didn't really get developed on enough, which I think would have been really interesting to explore more for the characters. But the thing with the movie, I felt that felt off for me, and this might kind of sound weird, is that there wasn't really a lot of Billy Batson in this movie with actor's name Angel Asher, because he was great in the first one, but he was barely in this movie at all.
Hey
And
Tim, can I ask you a question really
yeah,
quick about, because what I heard was part of people's problem with the movie was that the Shazam character didn't really mesh up with the kid character,
that is
personality wise.
that is 100% how I felt, and that was kind of one of my
Uh,
issues with it, because it felt like when he was just regular Billy Batson as a teenager, he felt there's more growth, more maturity with him there, and then when he turns into Shazam, he's acting like a teenage kid, more of a kid, and not kind of more mature and taking things seriously. I mean, there was funny stuff because Zachary Levi, he was great in the first one. I loved it, but for this one, while he did have some funny moments, it almost came off as being more obnoxious in this one than he did in the first. It just exactly why it works. Like it should be the opposite, where the kid is acting more when he's just regular Billy Batson, acting more rational and more mature than he is as Shazam as a superhero and as an adult. So that did felt off to me. And I was going to say it might sound weird that I would want more of the character without the superpowers, because sometimes that's a complaint in older superhero movies where it's like you want to actually see them as a superhero more, or find a good balance where there's as their regular character and as a superhero character. But this one we got more of him as a hero in Shazam, and I wanted more of him as Billy Batson because there is just that big distinct in their personalities. It really felt like two different characters. Whereas
yeah,
even and with the other kids who have the Shazam powers, it felt more like they were the same characters when they were adults. But Billy Batson was the one outlier who just felt totally different. That was something that took
that's
me out of it
weird.
a bit. Yeah.
That's weird. Like you would think like somebody on set would be like, wait a second, we have two different characters playing the same character, right?
Mm,
Like, how come he's, this serious, teenager, and then when he turns into Shazam, it's like he's like a goofy kid, you know?
yeah.
Like, you would think that there would be some sort of note or what a production note on that.
And it,
Yeah,
and it,
that's what I heard. Yeah.
yeah, and that works really well in the first one because yeah, he's a kid and he's just experiencing having all these superpowers, and of course he's going to act like that. But again, it's like a year or two after the first one, so you think it'd be more. It wouldn't be such a thing where like he's getting used to, or he just so impressed, or like to have these powers is just such a great. Obviously, it'd always be a cool feeling to have, but just that newness of it and that awe factor of having it, and just trying to do all these weird and different things with those superpowers would wear off. That effect would wear off, and you kind of just settle into that role. But yeah, so that really wasn't the case. And I mean, the thing is, like, the cast of characters in this are really great. All the kids have a great dynamic. I mean, it's hard to give everyone enough screen time, but when they're together, they just have a really fun dynamic that works well. And just seeing them, I like how it showed not they're trying to be heroes, but yet them being kids, they still sometimes do. I don't want to say more harm than good, but when they try to do good, there's a lot of collateral damage that happens. The first action sequence is a lot of fun where they try to save people or save a collapsing bridge, which they save all the people, but they fail at saving the bridge and causing massive damage to Philadelphia. So they're not really well regarded amongst the citizens of Philadelphia as being true heroes. Some of them view them as a nuisance. So that was a kind of a fun avenue to explore. It does make sense because they are kids. They are trying to do good, but yeah, their inexperience definitely shows in this. And I did like it how with the villains, it did go into more of the Greek god mythology with the daughters of Atlas and what they're trying to achieve here. So, and even at the end, there was some cool stuff with classic Greek mythology monsters with the Minotaurs, Cyclops, Chimeras, different take on unicorns, which visually was interesting. But so there were some cool action beats in the beginning, but I felt, and even the story too, I kind of got a little messy at the end where it didn't know kind of what it wanted to do with, like, the action beats and where to focus on with the story, with Billy Batson try to take or stop the Daughters of Atlas, because I did like how it brought a theme of kind of sacrifice that had to be made, where to lose a few of the kids lost their powers over the course of the movies, and then Billy realizing the only way to stop one of the Daughters of Atlas was to kind of not necessarily lose his powers, but actually sacrifice his life to stop them, and which he eventually ends up doing. Spoiler alert, because I know a lot of you probably haven't seen it, but if you're listening to this, haven't seen it yet, you probably don't mind on certain spoiler stuff. But so yeah, he ends up sacrificing himself. It was a cool action sequence against him versus a giant dragon. That dragon was really cool, but there are just certain things in that final action sequence where you got the kids without their powers and the wizard trying to stop these monsters. They, like I mentioned, those unicorns, the little girl from the first one, who tames it with Skittles was kind of a weird moment. And seeing the Marvel family riding on unicorns without their powers felt a little silly, but I guess that was one of those things that to me anyway, didn't mesh well, even though, it's a movie meant to have some fun action. It just felt weird to me. I don't know why, but the thing is too, I didn't really get a lot of that. You saw them riding these unicorns and about to chase these monsters off and kill these monsters, but we didn't get much of that. And then you'd get focus on another aspect of that accuracy with Billy and Shazam and one of the Daughters of Atlas, and another one of the Shazam family members doing their own thing was another Daughter of Atlas, which was going back into another plot detail where they had one of the Daughters of Atlas was a teenage girl who was trying to be friendly with Freddie Freeman's character, or Freddie Freeman is his name, but his superpowered Shazam version of himself, where she was just kind of being friendly with them to get in to find out where the staff was, or not where the staff was, but to kind of take away their powers and so all the Shazam family members wouldn't be an obstacle for the Daughters of Atlas. So there was a dynamic between them two that was going on. And like I said, just the final act, it just felt a little messy to where we got to the big moment where Billy was trying to sacrifice himself to stop one of the Daughters of Atlas, which he does. which of course going into it, you knew wasn't going to last, or you knew he would survive. But it did make for a good moment between him and his foster parents, and with Freddie Freeman, his best friend, because they did their chemistry that they have, Freddie Freeman and Billy Batson, was really well. We got a little bit of that in this one, but it was so good in the first one. I wish we had more of that in this one to help his death scene, or seeing Freddie's reaction to Billy's death scene. It was really great. But that's more from what you know on the first movie, and not so much on this one, since they didn't really have too many scenes together as just Billy Batson and Freddie Freeman. So again, I just wish it was a better balance between the Billy and Shazam character that we had in the first movie, that this one I felt was lacking. But then there's the big thing that Billy's gonna come back, but how is that gonna happen? It would have been a cool surprise to see how he was brought back to life, seeing the movie for the first time, but the marketing department at Warner Brothers wanted to show you that in the commercials because Wonder Woman was in this movie, and because they actually showed a clip of her in one of the commercials, that surprise was ruined. And it was kind of a bummer, because obviously it was a desperate move for them to try to get people to go see it. It obviously didn't work, so they should have just still kept it a surprise. I know the director was kind of really disappointed with that, and this other kind of plot twist too that happened in here pretty much were all revealed in the marketing. So that was a bummer, but it was still cool to see Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and just the role that she played just at the very end, because they were saying with the Daughters of Atlas gone that they were defeated, and one of them survived, because the one who was friends with Freddie Freeman, and she lost her powers, so she couldn't bring Billy back to life, and they were saying there's no more gods left. But then you see the boot of Wonder Woman hit the ground, and the classic theme starts playing, and she goes, not all gods are gone. And so she's able to repower the staff and bring Billy back to life, which again was really cool to see her. That fits that she would be in this type of story that deals with that Greek god mythology. So that was a cool cameo, but just again ruined by the marketing. And it wasn't even a leak or spoiler by some fans or online site that saw it. It was just actually from Warner Brothers marketing themselves. So it's just disappointing, to say the least. So yeah, just overall a fun time. It's not, to me, going to be one of the, not a very memorable one where I think, oh, this is like a great moment or a great action sequence that I'd never seen before in a superhero movie. A lot of it felt generic, like I said before, but still a fun time to be had. So overall, I'd give it probably 2.5 out of 5 for Shazam: Fury of the Gods. And the post-credit scenes were kind of head scratchers too. I'll start with the last one first. It was almost the same one as in the first movie, where Dr. Sivana is still in jail, and he gets greeted by Mr. Mind, the little worm creature, who's the Shazam villain. Who, I mean, he's a fun villain. So I kind of wish they would explore more with him in the sequel, but they're just kind of setting up more of a tease that is not going to have a payoff here. And then the first mid-credit scene, this is the one where obviously now is getting a lot of attention, where two characters from the Suicide Squad and the Peacemaker series, forgive me for not remembering their names, but they're going to recruit Shazam to join the Justice Society. And it was a little fun bit where they were saying, we want you to join the Justice. And Shazam's like, the Justice League? Oh, yes, I'll be teammates with Wonder Woman. That's going to be great. And then it's like, no, it's the Justice Society. Then he's like, why is there two different superhero groups with the similar names with the word justice in there? And then he starts reading off these different names they can use. He's all, ooh, the Avengers of Justice. That has a nice ring to it. So a little fun nod at Marvel there. But the thing that's getting a lot of hoopla right now is how, instead of those two characters from Peacemaker being the ones to recruit him, it was supposed to be Hawkman and Cyclone from Black Adam, actual members of the Justice Society. But The Rock didn't want them to have any crossover with Shazam. And it's kind of causing this whole feud going on between Zachary Levi and The Rock about him thwarting the plans for the Shazam movie, and just, causing all this kind of bitterness. I think they have, or Zachary Levi, I'm sure some of the other production crew Shazam, towards Black Adam and The Rock and what they wanted to do, which honestly is a shame, because it was a poor decision I think this mainly came from The Rock too, as far as keeping the Black Adam movie really separate from Shazam, when they should have been more connected and meld together to set up a potential future storyline between the two where they'll meet, because obviously Black Adam is Shazam's biggest villain, and the fact that you'd want to keep them separate is a head scratcher. Uh, what I remember reading, it's because The Rock really wants Black Adam to be more serious, and Shazam's more on the lighter tone, kid-friendly side of things. But still, you got certain characters like the Wizard is in both movies. They referenced a little bit of Black Adam in the first Shazam, so it just felt very natural for the direction of the story of the Shazam movies to go to eventually have them meet up, and it would have made for a good story of, like we saw in the comics, just how a Black Adam uses the Shazam power, just how different Billy Batson uses the power, and how their ideals clash. And I really wish it would have went that direction, because while the plot line for Fear of the Gods was kind of interesting as it started off anyway, dealing more with the origins of the Shazam powers with the Greek gods, it just felt like the movies could have gone in a more interesting direction with the Black Adam side of things, just showing how one person uses those powers and how Billy Batson would use in two different ways and having them clash. So it's just kind of a mess how everything turned out for the Shazam franchise, judging by the box office results and the response for this one. I mean, critically, it didn't do good. The fan reactions kind of mixed. I see a lot of people who really enjoyed it for a fun movie, which it is. But more than likely, it's not. I don't think it's going to be getting a sequel or going to fit in James Gunn's plans for the new DC universe going forward. Maybe Shazam will show up in other movies as just having an appearance in them, but as far as standalone Shazam movies, this is probably it. Which is the same, because, like I said, the first one is great. I love it, and the cast of characters, the cast they had, really worked well together, and I think they could have done some really more cool stuff with it, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So we'll just have to settle for two Shazam movies right now. One really great one, and one that's not the best, but still a fun time.
So that was the big complaint, that The Rock didn't want any Black Adam thing in the Shazam movie.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought he was talking about the first one, the first Shazam movie.
Even a little bit
where
with
The
that
Rock
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was as bad as then, because obviously the first Shazam was made first, and they did a little tease because there was that moment where the Wizard was explaining things to Billy Batson, and he did talk about the first one who had the power and kind of abused it. So they were teasing a little bit of Black Adam in the first one. But when it came to when Black Adam was in production and the second one, he didn't want no crossovers or connections whatsoever.
I see. So it's all The Rock's fault then.
It didn't. See, honestly, Black Adam didn't do gangbusters either, so I don't think having Black Adam involved would have helped the box office at all. I think it probably would have been the same, maybe a little better, but it definitely would have been more interesting story-wise, and I think a better direction for the film series to go if he was involved within it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think. I mean, even though the Rock is a box office draw, I don't think having him in there would
do
anything.
He wasn't for Black Adam, so.
Is that one getting a sequel? The Black,
no, it's not. No, that's pretty much done.
Not.
I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of. I mean, obviously, I'm not rooting for any of the movies to fail, but it's just funny to look back how he kept championing this. Oh, the hierarchy of power of the DC universe is about to change, and obviously nothing happened. The hierarchy, well, in the executive position, it did now with James Gunn and Peter Safran did, but as far as Black Adam being a main character of the DC universe moving forward, not so much. And I just you keep hearing these reports of how The Rock was really trying to establish himself as one of the big creative forces moving the DC movie universe forward, with Black Adam being the center of that. Obviously trying to bring Henry Cavill back as the confrontation with Superman and Black. So pretty much Superman and Black Adam were going to be the main characters, or at least in The Rock's mind, moving forward with the DC universe. But obviously that didn't happen. So you just gotta have to roll with the changes that are happening. And again, I'm excited for what's to come in the DC universe with James Gunn running things. And it was just announced too a couple of weeks ago how James Gunn will be directing Superman Legacy, which I think is a really great move, especially when he's writing it. It's pretty much his baby, bringing the Superman movie to us in this new DC universe. So I just think it would be right for him to helm it as the director as well, and just being a big fan of what he does with the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, just from the trailers looking like to be his best movie yet. I'm really anxious to see what he's going to do with Superman. It's going to be interesting because obviously the tone of a Superman movie has to be vastly different from Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad. So I think it's going to be an opportunity for him to show what he can do as a director, to do something different than what we're used to seeing from him. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I'm really excited that he's the one directing the Superman movie that he's writing. It just seems right for it to do that.
Yeah, so I guess it's just best to forget like Black Adam and Shazam.
Yeah,
and Shazam 2 ever happened, and sort of like just focus on the James Gunn Superman DCEU thing.
yeah, it's just a couple of stories that were told in the previous DC EU universe. So, and that's it. Not going to have a big impact moving forward, I think.
Well, I mean, I guess this goes to show that I think the DCEU movie universe, or whatever we're calling it, needs a hard reset. It doesn't need a soft reset.
Yeah.
It needs a hard reset.
Which
Hopefully it gets that.
I think we're getting, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it should be a full blown reset, but I don't think it's going to be completely full blown. But like you said, a hard reset. For most things are going to be totally different, with very few things kind of carrying over. Like Amanda Waller, obviously played by Viola Davis, is continuing on the James Gunn universe. I'm sure certain members of the Suicide Squad that James Gunn did is probably going to be carried over too. But for the most part, everything else will be totally different. So yeah, I'm expecting a full blown hard reset, which will start with The Flash in a couple of months, which I hope I'm not getting myself too excited for it, but I'm really getting hyped up for it, just for some of the reactions for those who have seen it already and saying it's really great, and how they're kind of going to premiere it at the Cannes Film Festival first, almost like a month before it comes out. So there's just been a lot of positive buzz surrounding it beforehand. So hopefully that's the case when we actually do get to see it in June. And it was great seeing the trailer on the big screen when I saw Shazam. I gotta say, it looked awesome.
I wonder why they do that. Why do they take like superhero movies to the Cannes Film Festival?
I guess the ones they're really proud of.
Yeah, isn't that like for more like these
like
stuffy European art films?
Yeah. Again, which is cool because that means they feel they got something special there. They want to show it off as early as possible. So that's what has me excited.
I guess. Well, all I will say. Anyway,
yeah. So that's my review for Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and now we can get into some. You know what? I was gonna get into the TV stuff, but let's go with the video game route first, because there's something that came out this week that has me super excited that I just can't wait to talk about and eventually play.
Finally, Tim, it's Diablo 4. Right? Is that what you're talking about?
The beta just came out for that, right?
Yeah. I know you were really excited to play it, Tim. So why don't you tell us about your time in Diablo 4?
So excited for it that I forgot to even download it and play it. So I'm afraid I can't do that right now.
Oh, no.
I was just too excited that I forgot.
I know what you're talking about, Tim. You're talking about Dead Island 2, aren't you?
See, that's a game franchise I know of. I can't remember when the first one came out. Never played it, obviously. Didn't know there was a second one, if it's out or not. So you'll have to tell me, Dane. Is that something that just came out, or is it coming out? I have no idea.
Dead Island 2, I think it's coming out. I think it comes out before Jedi Survivor. Like a week before, yeah. But, yeah. Jedi Survivor. I just look. I just want a game to play, a new game to play. That's all I want. Is that so hard to ask? You know, like
We could have been
now I
playing
gotta
it
wait
right
another
now
month.
if it didn't get delayed again. But
Yeah, now I gotta wait another month for Jedi Survivor. But
boy,
anyway,
does it look good though.
no,
That new
yeah,
trailer
it
we
looks
got.
really good.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. But yeah, it's none of those games, Tim. You're not excited about Diablo 4. You're not
No.
excited about Dead Island 2.
No,
You're not excited about Jedi Survivor at all, Tim.
I didn't
because
say
you're not a
that.
real Star Wars fan. You're not a real Star Wars fan like me.
How dare
But
you?
you're excited. You are excited, Tim, for I forget the name of the game, but but no,
More like you couldn't think of
you're-
some random weird game to mention
Yeah.
again, more likely.
but no, you're excited for, and as am I, for the Last Ronin game, Tim. Last Ronin game that's going to be like God of War, or at least that's what they say they want to aim for.
Yes.
I don't know. It's kind of a bad idea to base your game on such a specific game, but
Yeah, you're setting expectations high. I mean, even though
Yeah.
I haven't played them yet, I want to. I know you raved about them, others have raved about them, so I know they're great, regardless of not having played them.
but yeah, if it's anything like the God of War franchise, the God of War remake, and then the God of War Ragnarok, it's if it's anything like that, it's gonna be at least good.
Yeah,
Especially with the story from the comics.
right.
I mean, like I'm hoping that they sort of do what The Last of Us did, where they like take certain story elements and change them and expand them, but yet still tell the story of The Last Ronin.
Yeah, I mean, and part of the quote in that interview, it was because we don't know who the developer is. I think they're still keeping that a secret, but it's kind of like the president of Viacom or Paramount, who owns the Ninja Turtles, talking about how they are making a AAA Ninja Turtles game based off The Last Ronin. So just the fact that they're giving the Turtles a AAA video game treatment that they deserve is awesome. But again, hopefully it's a really great developer behind it too. As you said, putting the label or mentioning God of War as your inspiration, that's put some high expectations on there. So it's when you say that, like hopefully it delivers on those expectations. But man, when I read, because there's been rumors of a friend of mine on Twitter, Rashad, he mentioned how, or reminded me, like, there's a AAA Ninja Turtle game in the works. Like, is there? Like, was that announced or anything? And then showed me an article like, oh yeah, that's right. There was one to be rumored, and now it officially got revealed here that it will be a Ninja Turtles game based off The Last Ronin, and a AAA title based off that story is just a brilliant move. And they even say they want to stay true to the story, and it is going to be more mature. So it's going to be a game geared towards more adult gamers. It might even have an M rating, which would be crazy to have a Turtles game that's rated M and it's for more adults. But that's what, if you're going to do The Last Ronin, that's what it has to be, because it is a very mature and sometimes bloody story. But it's just, man, when I heard it, it's like, this is such a great idea. Not only because obviously a video game based on that story is awesome, but it'll just give more people the chance to experience one of the greatest TMNT stories ever if you haven't read the comics. So this having another avenue for those to experience it through a video game is going to be awesome. But I think it's going to make for a great video game, a single player game too, which again was going to be different for Ninja Turtles. But I kind of like that idea. I mean, it's always great doing co-op with Ninja Turtles. I mean, 4 turtles, there's nothing better than getting on with your friends and playing some beat 'em up action games with the Ninja Turtles. But to do something different with a single player style game, I think is going to be a brilliant change of pace for turtle games. And The Last Ronin is the perfect story to do that with. Obviously, spoilers on who the Last Ronin turtle actually is, being Michelangelo, following his journey that he goes on here, utilizing the different weapons of the other turtles, and your combat should be a lot of fun. to do. But then what also is exciting as well is how in that interview it was mentioned how there will be flashback sequences too, because we know there are those moments in the comics that tells you what happens to the other turtles, and how they unfortunately meet their demise. And if we could play those too, that's going to be a lot of fun. Imagine playing the fight with Raphael versus Karai, the final stand between with Splinter and Donatello, Leonardo and Casey Jones. If I had one small complaint about the last Ronin comic series, it was how that story of how Leonardo and Casey went down. I wanted a little more from that. So if the game can maybe expand on that aspect a little bit, that would be really cool. Of course, I'm a little biased because Leonardo's my favorite turtle, and him going down the way he did, I felt was a little anticlimactic for him. But we'll see if they do any changes with it in the game. But just having that avenue to do more and change things up in that game, having these flashback sequences sprinkled out throughout the course of the main story as you're playing with Michelangelo, and then going back and doing some stuff with the other turtles is going to be lots of fun. And again, just to experience this story in the video game medium is just going to be so cool, because the story is really, really fantastic and quite emotional too, because that final issue, I mean, it really hit me when I read it. If they can recreate that through the video game, boy, that's going to be something special. So yeah, this was such exciting news to get. And unfortunately, it did say too that it's really early in development and a few years away. So we're going to be waiting a little bit. But man, I think it's going to be absolutely worth it. I just can't even, let alone play it. I can't wait to whether it's at the Video Game Awards, E3, or a Sony or Nintendo live stream that they do where we get our first look at the game and just a teaser trailer seeing how it's going to look. It's going to be an awesome feeling. So yeah, this is some of the coolest video game news that we've gotten in a while. The fact that we're getting a AAA Turtles game and that it's going to be based on the last Ronin. It's like a match made in heaven. It was just so awesome to get this news, and I cannot wait for it.
Another thing worth talking about is the TMNT Mayhem trailer.
Yes, that's right.
I know some people didn't like it. I know some people didn't really like it, especially with the voices and stuff. But you got to remember the teenage part of this.
Yeah.
You know, but I really like the art style. It looks like they're going with the Spider-Verse
big
art style. But yeah, I really love that trailer. So
yeah, it looks like a lot of fun, and it's what you expect. I mean, I don't know what people were expecting when you find out a new animated movie was in development by Seth Rogen's production team. So you kind of knew this is how it was going to be. But I will admit the voices did throw me off a little bit, where, man, they really do sound young, especially Donatello, where it's like, they sound nothing like any other turtle version before it. But it's not something that sounds bad. It's just something that you just have to get used to, which I'm sure once we see the movie, we will. Like I said, the art style looks great in it. They're really embracing the title, Mutant Mayhem, where there's going to be a lot of different mutants in there with tons of celebrity voices doing their voices. So some of the ones I can't wait to hear, Jackie Chan and Splinter. That's going to be awesome. But the coolest one, which I think Ebio, or he'd be great in this role as live action too, was Giancarlo Esposito as Baxter Stockman. Especially if you've read the IDW comics or even watched the 2003 series. I'm going to go more towards IDW comics, because when I read that Baxter, I think of Giancarlo Esposito as be perfect for that, especially how he is as Moff Gideon in The Mandalorian. He's just like that straightforward, could be ruthless type of villain, which Baxter is in the IDW comics. So he's voicing Baxter here, but I hope if we ever do get a live action Ninja Turtles movie or series or something where they have Baxter in it, brings Giancarlo Esposito back, because he'd be perfect for that more serious villain role as Baxter Stockman. But yeah, Mutants Mayhem looks like a lot of fun. It should just be another cool turtle experience to enjoy when it comes out in August.
August 4th, yeah.
Pretty early on, so
yeah.
We'll probably get another trailer before then too. Probably focus more on the story of it.
On the story, yeah. I want to see John Cena as Rocksteady,
Yeah.
or hear John Cena as Rocksteady.
Seth Rogen's going to be great as Bebop.
Oh, is he playing Bebop?
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, he is. Oh, okay. Ice Cube is Superfly. All right. Oh yeah, Jackie Chan is Splinter. Um, I don't know. You know what, Tim? I'm gonna disagree with you on Giancarlo Esposito. I actually like the Baxter Stockman of the 2011 animated series.
2012.
2012 animated series. Sorry.
I do like
Where
it too. He's really funny.
Yeah, where he's just like a nerd.
Yeah.
I think I prefer that. But
I do like
like
both.
you said,
But
yeah,
mean, I love
like
the
you
running gag
said,
in there, how none of the turtles remember his name and can't get his name right over the course of the
Yeah.
5 seasons they had to encounter with him.
Well, it goes through the entire 5 seasons of
Pretty
of that
much,
show.
yeah.
Wow, I thought it was just because I've only seen the first two seasons. So, wow, yeah, I can't believe it.
So yeah, a lot of cool turtle goodness stuff is on the horizon. Have you been
Yeah.
reading The Last Ronin Lost Years yet, Dane?
No, you know why? Because I don't know. Like I kind of wanted to wait because I have this fear that they're gonna go to the well too many times with the Last Ronin. It's gonna become a thing where it's just like they go, oh, you know, this is connected to the Last Ronin, and it's another thing connected to the Last Ronin. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, fear not, because the first 2 issues of The Lost Years have been just as great as the original graphic novel. They have been
Really?
fantastic. Not only filling the gaps early on with Michelangelo kind of exile, but remember the tease they had at the end of Last Ronin with those 4 baby turtles?
Yeah.
That's being expanded on too, and those new turtles are great. I'll just say that. It's
Really?
something totally different, but I'm already loving the dynamic and personalities that these new turtles have. It's something really different, but I think really cool. So the series so far has been a great continuation of The Last Ronin. So far, if they're going back to the well, it hasn't been enough times yet because it's still firing on all cylinders.
We'll see. I'm gonna wait off. I'm gonna hold off until I don't know issue
It's
5
completed.
or whatever.
Okay.
Oh, it's completed.
No, not yet. I mean,
Oh.
until it's completed.
Oh,
That's how long you're gonna wait.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna wait. But I made fun of you, Tim. I made fun of you for liking the IDW comic, the main title, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ended up
What a
being
mistake
wrong.
that was.
Yeah, ended up being wrong on that. So delightfully wrong, I'd say.
When it comes to Ninja Turtle comics, when have I stirred you wrong? Never.
You're right, Tim. You are right. And you didn't steer me wrong on the animated series, the CGI animated series. So
See, when it comes to turtles, just
you,
come to me.
Yeah.
I'll point you in the right direction.
you kind of know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially knowing how
I guess
much.
I'll give it a.
Especially knowing you
Yeah.
love The Last Ronin as much as I did. This is gonna be just more of the same great stuff. So.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a try, Tim.
You will not be disappointed. Trust me.
I am looking. I'm looking it up right now on Amazon.
You're just going to get the 1 issue, and then after you're done reading it, you're immediately going to get issue 2. Because that's what I wanted to do, but it wasn't out yet, and now I want issue 3 real bad.
Is it like the Last Ronin where it doesn't have a set date to release?
I can't remember exactly how many they're having. Like, what's the issue count? Should probably look that up.
No, I mean it keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed.
So far not yet. They've been on time with these first 2 issues.
Let's see, which one should I get? Oh, 1 of 5? Is that what you're talking about?
Okay, yeah, so it is only 5.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not going to be very long.
Oh, Kevin Eastman and Tom Waltz?
Same team behind the original. So again, how can you go wrong?
Okay. Okay. All right, Tim.
You got it?
All right.
All right.
Number 1 is in my possession now, digitally.
Same as mine. I'll probably
All right,
get the
you better be
hardcover.
right, Tim.
I got the hardcover for The Last Ronin a few months ago when that came out. And so far, how good the last year's has been, I'll probably do the same. But yeah, so definitely let me know what you think after you read it, after we're done recording.
Yeah,
But I already have a feeling I know
will.
what you're going to think. You're going to love it.
If I don't like it, Tim, I want you to Venmo me $6. Can you do that, Tim?
It shouldn't be that much anymore. Usually the Turtle comics go cheaper after a month they've been out. So, and that's been out for 2 months now. So this will be only like $3 or something like that. So
Well, the first one is $1.79, and the second one is $4.49.
so look at you trying to extort like $4 extra out of me, Dane.
Well, yeah, Tim, you owe me $6 if I don't like $6 and some change. Can you please Venmo me that? If I don't like it.
I'll do it through Zelle, not Venmo. So
All right.
Turtle stuff, yeah, lots of great stuff happening right now with TMNT. But
It's
also
really weird how I don't know. It seems like they're really pushing the TMNT franchise forward. Like bring it to the forefront with the movie, the game, the comics,
yeah,
stuff like that.
what I really love is just a live action TV show, and like in the same frame as some of like the Star Wars Marvel shows that we're getting. I mean, if I were really wish if we can get a TMNT live action series like the Daredevil TV show was, given how Daredevil is such a big inspiration for Turtles in general, that would be amazing. That same kind of more mature, dark tone with it, but still balancing out with a little more lightheartedness that the Turtles have. But that would be a dream come true, a live action series like that.
How about
Maybe one of these days.
How about an animated series that just follows the IDW comic?
That would be awesome too. Just
Yeah,
adapting
I
all
mean,
the
like,
stories.
I mean, I know they have the Rise of the TMNT show, and I don't know, is that movie still coming out on Netflix?
It came out in August.
It did?
Yeah, it's out already. It's been
Wow.
out for a while.
On Netflix.
It was really good too.
On Netflix?
Yeah.
Wow, I must have missed that. Wow, Tim. I didn't know that. But yeah, like, I don't know, something that's not Rise of the TMNT, you know?
hmm
I don't know.
Yeah, I just wish like they do for TV shows and movie fronts, they do go that more. I mean, Turtles is for everyone. Obviously, it's geared more like kids are
Right.
obviously more fans of it. But it seems like they're just leaving the stuff for like the adult audience just from the comics and now video games. Where I kind of wish that they do that for on the TV show and movie front as well. But it seems that's where they're still focusing more towards the younger audience side of thing, which I totally get. But it would just be nice to have one series that's kind of geared towards the more adult fans, or one movie or one TV series.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you got to remember who owns TMNT.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with the game, I think that's their way of kind of giving something for us older fans to enjoy on the more mature side of things. I mean, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. I'm not going to be complaining.
Tim, why are you so greedy when it comes to TMNT?
I know there's over 30 years of content and stuff. Well, geez,
Yeah.
it's going to be 40. I think next year is the 40th anniversary of the comic release, which is insane.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it would be nice to have a more mature TMNT show.
Yeah.
But
Especially when the
I don't know.
basis for one is there from the comics. So there's plenty of stuff
Yeah.
to be inspired and adapt from to make it work really, really well.
yeah, gotta diversify your lineup a little bit.
Yes. And that's what's just great about the Turtles in general. You can just do so many different things with the more fun, kids-oriented type series that work really well, and then also the more mature stories that work really well. That's why I love the franchise so much. It can just be adapted in so many different ways and work extremely well in those different avenues and type of storytelling. So the Turtles are the best.
Just like Star Wars, Tim.
Exactly. And hey, segue. Speaking of good TV shows are getting right now, I mean, since we last recorded, we haven't had a new season of The Mandalorian, but now we're 4 episodes into season 3 of The Mandalorian. So it's just great to have it back. I've really been loving this season, minus a little bump in the road, which I'm curious to hear your take on it, Dane, because I know it's been an episode that has very mixed reactions, but I just love how the season kicked off with a bang. Just really a fun episode. We're getting back to the swing of things with Mando. Going back to Navarro, meeting with Grief Karga, or first going back to the Mandalorian convert and saying, "Hey, I'm going to Mandalore. I'm gonna redeem myself." And just that whole intro with Mandalorians fighting that big monster, it was just, man, they're starting it off with a really cool action sequence right out the gate. And while I've heard some complaints about the premiere saying, there's like nothing big that was introduced or that happened in there, it was just a good, solid, fun action episode that just caught you up with Mando and Grogu and what they're going to be doing, but also having some fun elements in there with those pirates. I loved that space battle that Din Djarin had against those pirates. It was really cool. A different type of, it was like a stealth space battle. I compared it to, it's like Batman going in the shadows taking out different enemies, but it was Din Djarin was doing that just in a ship. It just had a really cool, unique effect to it. So a lot of fun stuff there. And then going to Mandalore, seeing the ruins of Mandalore in live action, it's like you're seeing Mandalore looks totally different. It's destroyed and in rubble, but yet you're seeing like iconic scenery from Mandalore that we saw in the Clone Wars, and it just had that same effect of just being really cool to see Mandalore in live action, even though it's all, as Boba Fett described it, turned to glass. But that was just kind of a fun journey episode, seeing Din Djarin trying to make it down to bathe in the waters of Mandalore and the mines of Mandalore, and just what he has to encounter there, and then Grogu going on his little adventure, getting Bo-Katan to help rescue him, and then them journeying together and just kind of both opening them up, Bo-Katan and Din Djarin opening up with each other, kind of obviously having their different beliefs, but yet both of them each kind of respecting each other, or that respect is growing more. And then we got that big moment of where Din falls or is going to bathe in the water, then he gets pulled down, or not pulled down. You know, that was up for debate. We even talked about that on The Saga Continues, where I was like, I don't think he was pulled down by a monster. It just like he fell and the weight of the armor pulled him all the way down, which ended up being the case where they said it was because the cataclysm caused by the bombings of the Empire caused the whole the ground level there to be totally different. And so it wasn't the monster that pulled him down, but actually seeing the Mythosaur and Bo-Katan, notice being the only one to see it. And I know we're going to see the Mythosaur in all its glory probably in the season finale, but getting that little tease of just his face and his eyes was just like really, really cool. Love that. And then in the third episode where Din and Bo-Katan made it out and had to fight off some TIE fighters, was another great aerial combat sequence in the series, which is that Naboo starfighter. I mean, I'm so glad they made the decision to have that be Din Djarin's ship. It just, seen it in action like we've never seen before is just really cool. So I never get tired of seeing the N1 in action. But then we get to the side story of Dr. Pershing, which, again, I'm really curious to hear what you thought of this episode, Dane, because this is probably my least favorite episode of the series.
Really?
Yeah, it's just...
Oh, wow, Tim.
I liked what they introduced, seeing the new, like how the New Republic is operating on Coruscant, and that idea of the amnesty program they have with the Empire, or old members of the Empire, I thought is really cool and interesting. And just how, the New Republic are doing things obviously kind of shady. They're giving numbers to those in the amnesty programming. They're kind of dehumanizing them a bit, like the Empire did and just even with the clone troopers. Like, no, even though you have a name, we're going to refer to you as numbers type of thing, which didn't seem right. And then they're still using that mind flayer device, even though they're saying, "Oh, we're not the Empire. We're only going to use it on the low setting here." But it's like it's still not ethically right to even be doing that, even having that machine there. But I just felt the story they were trying to tell with Dr. Pershing, it went on a little too long. It didn't need to be this long to tell the story you were trying to tell. And I got to be honest, the humor in this episode is like, it took me out of it a bit. It's like I rarely complain about this stuff in Star Wars, but there's some humor in Star Wars that just makes me roll my eyes like, oh, this isn't good. The Eope farting in Jar Jar's face, Poe Dameron's phone call to General Hugs, as he called him in The Last Jedi. Those are like some of the worst in Star Wars. But now where Star Wars is self-aware and referencing itself with the "it's a trap" moment, and then you quickly go to a shot of the Mon Calamari, and he just looks at the screen. He doesn't look directly at the screen, but it's like the shot goes to him, is like going, huh? Get what we're doing here? It's like he might as well just turn to the camera and wink to the audience. It's like, you get the joke? So like stuff like that, I was like, ah. So again, it was just a little bump in the road, but it's not something I absolutely hate. It's just there's moments in there that aren't my favorite, even though there are some interesting stuff being introduced here. And I think it's going to be an important episode down the line for what it's going to set up later, but not my favorite of the series. But then we get the last new episode, which was phenomenal. I mean, it's the shortest one of the series, but this is the awesome stuff we get when your main character is a Mandalorian and the other is a Jedi with Din and Grogu. It opens up with a great Mandalorian training sequence. Just seeing all the Mandalorians in their element, training to be the warriors that they are, which is really cool. But then we get the biggest moment of the episode, and something we've been waiting for, the answer of who rescued Grogu, and that is Kelleran Beck. Not familiar with that name? Well, hopefully you're familiar with the actor, because it's played none other by Ahmed Best. Yes, Jar Jar himself. And that was just such a cool and brilliant move, because we're all wondering, oh, it's got to be a character we know it's got to be a familiar Jedi who's going to save him. And it wasn't, but I couldn't be happier that it was Kelleran Beck, because it feels right that it doesn't have to always be some character we already know. And while this character has been known in the fan base, it's just great that Ahmed Best is getting another chance to play a Star Wars character who plays a very important role in rescuing Grogu, who has become one of the more popular Star Wars characters in recent memory. So it's just awesome that Ahmed Best gets another chance to be part of the Star Wars universe after all the crap and abuse he had to go through just for his portrayal of Jar Jar, which was no fault of his own. But yeah, so the fact that he's back in Star Wars as a big character was just awesome. I was like super happy for him. So yeah, this season I thought so far has been really great. It has a different flow to it than the other two seasons had, and at the halfway point, because I thought the main goal of season 3 was going to be, Din going to Mandalore and redeeming himself, and that's probably going to happen towards the end of the season. It's like, no, it happened in the second episode. So it's going to be curious to see how the story is going to move forward in these final 4. But I've been enjoying the heck out of it. So yeah, Mandalorian season 3 has been awesome so far.
You know, Tim, I almost hung up on you when you said you didn't like that third episode.
I had a feeling it might be one that you really enjoyed.
But now you get the chance to hang up on me because, not gonna lie, the first 2 episodes, especially the first one, I was kind of sort of disappointed with it. You know, where it was like, where is this story going? And why are we getting so sidetracked? I mean, that's the problem with the Mandalorian. You're getting sidetracked at every single planet you visit, every single person you visit. Like, like what's going on? You know, I'm so sick of these sidetracks. Like, let's just focus on the main quest. Let's not do the side quests. All right. And to be honest, I didn't really care about, Mandalore and bathing in the waters underneath Mandalore. That whole storyline. But Tim, are you still there? Did you hang up?
I'm still here. Continue. I'm letting you say your piece.
But what keeps me coming back is not what you think it is, Tim. It's
Interesting.
not Pedro Pascal. It's not the Mando character. It's not Baby Yoda. It is Bo-Katan.
Not surprised.
I really love her story and where that is seeming to head, where she's joined up with Din Djarin. Uh, and I gotta say, out of everything on this show has introduced, the greatest thing that this show has done is A, the dark saber, which is really cool, but B, it's Bo-Katan's armor. I don't think it has ever looked this good.
It looks amazing.
I don't know if they changed it between seasons, but man, like it it really really looks good. I have zero complaints with that character, and yeah, like that's what keeps me coming back because, and that is kind of a strength of the Mandalorian, where it's like they don't have to necessarily stick with Mando, right?
Mhm.
They can have an episode or two or three where it focuses on a different character completely, right? And now we get to the third episode, which is barely has Mando in it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's only the beginning. There's a little bit in the middle,
No, there's no.
and
Just it's bookended. Just the beginning and the end of the episode is with
oh
Mando and
right, yeah,
Bo-Katan.
it's just the beginning and the end. But man, I love that third episode. I really loved it. It's a slower paced episode, and I can see why you Star Wars fans don't like it, especially like you said what they
No, see,
do with
as I said,
the
most
New
Star Wars fans,
Republic.
it's mixed because I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
fans who absolutely love it, and I'm kind of like in the minority there. But
Okay. Well, I apparently seen the minority voice their opinions on this
I
third
mean,
episode because I go ahead.
I was gonna say it's rare when I'm the one who's more in the negative about a piece of Star Wars content than
Yeah.
most.
I really love that they sort of change things up, and like I don't know if you call it the New Republic, Tim. Uh, Maybe it's like a in between period
No, I
between
mean they're being
governments.
referred to as the New Republic, so that's
Yeah,
what they're called.
but I love what they did with it, and they sort of changed it up where it's like, yeah, they're using these techniques, these let's just call it what it is, Tim. It's a re-education camp. Is what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Um, and like giving them numbers instead of names, and using that machine, that mind flare machine on people to just lightly, Tim. We're just doing a little bit of torture.
You actually
It's
might enjoy
okay.
it. I think that's what Lamont
You
Callum
might
already said.
actually, man. I love that. I totally love that. Where it's like you're taking this thing that you're familiar with and you're adding a new layer to it. Where it's like, man, they're torturing people. They're putting people in re-education camps and giving them numbers, and, infiltrating their little groups to I don't know, pick out the the bad eggs or whatever.
Mm,
Yeah, I totally love that. It I mean, I guess, yeah, I really love the nuts and bolts of um of the Star Wars universe. It's why I loved Andor, right? Um, and yeah, this is just another great example of it, where it's like you're taking this idea that you're familiar with, like the New Republic, because all the movies and stuff, and like you're adding this new layer to it, where it's like, yeah, you criticize that Mon Calamari character for being like, oh, like being cheesy with the it's a trap joke, or we're just giving you a little bit of the mind flare. It's just a little bit of torture, but that's how it would be, right? That's how it would be if it were a real world situation. right?
I don't know
So
about
like,
the joke, but the other stuff, yes.
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. That's what I love about the Star Wars universe, and oh man, I love that episode. I had to, that's one of the best of Mando for me.
Wow,
I,
from my
I
least to
know,
one of your best.
yeah, I really really liked it. Just seeing like, I mean, I know Pershing is like a big character or whatever, and he had this sort of big role in the first season of Mando, but like, yeah, I really like how we spent all this time with essentially nothing characters at this point, and use them to tell the story of the New Republic and what they've done behind the scenes, right? I
Mhm.
mean, sure, you can have this big propaganda-esque thing where it's like, well, we're the New Republic, but then behind the scenes, it's different.
Yeah,
There are re-education camps. They do use torture because that's essentially what that mind flayer is, right? We do infiltrate, these little groups of people, vulnerable people, right? They've given themselves up to this new program, and they expect to be rehabilitated. Um, and instead, we get the opposite. But anyway, yeah, I really love this episode, Tim, and I can see why you Star Wars fans don't really like it, because there's no real like connection to it where it's like, oh, the Mando is the secret guy with the secret gun and the staff
no,
and
see
whatever,
that's
right?
not it at all. The
But
reason
like,
is just I think it just went on a little too long with the story they were trying to tell. It didn't need
yeah,
to be,
it
and
did.
again, some of those
It did.
jokes took me out of it. That's it. But like I said, all the
It
stuff
did.
they set up, it's very interesting.
It did, but that's the point of the episode, really, right? But yeah, I totally love this episode. Yeah, I really liked it. And then the fourth episode, I I was sort of, again, we're getting sort of sidetracked with the side missions again. It's like they're we're trying to kill this big beast thing, right? And it was only rescued by one Ahmed Best. I He totally rescued the episode for me. You know what? Let's give Ahmed Best his own Jedi Star Wars show.
Hey, I wouldn't
That's not a
mind
game show.
that.
That's not a game show.
Yeah, I was gonna say technically he does have one, but
But yeah, it was so great seeing Ahmed Best and seeing Order 66 again. Because, I mean, again, Order 66, I know it's like this big thing, but what it really is just a regular old political purge, is what it is. So that's why I like seeing it. Um, I, I, yeah, I thought this episode was okay. I thought it was all right. I didn't really care for them taking killing that monster thing. But what I did like about that is they really stepped up their CGI in at least in this episode.
yeah, it was
I
like
thought
great.
it was really cool, and like that third person camera shot.
Mhm.
It's in a really quick shot, but like third person camera shot where you're on the back of one of the
Yeah,
Mandalorians,
like it's going into his
and
mouth type
he's
shot.
going into his mouth. That was really cool, and uh, Din Djarin rescuing the kid. It looks really good. They really stepped up their CGI in this, or I don't know if it's like it's probably a mix of the CGI and the practical effects.
Right, just
Yeah,
their monster budget ran up really this season because all the
yeah,
monsters
it
they
did.
showed look great.
And those baby monsters, those things look really creepy.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they look like baby birds, like chicks, but like, yeah, they looked really creepy. Um, but yeah, I think this season is good. It's good. It's got enough for me to really grasp onto this season. Yeah, it kind of doesn't have that same feeling as the second season or the first season,
No,
where it's
okay.
like what's going to happen next sort of thing. It seems like they're really expanding the Mando universe, really,
Yeah.
and making it bigger instead of like having to take the kid to the people to do the thing, right? Um, and this season, it's like, yeah, we gotta. I gotta bathe in the waters under Mandalore. Okay, I did it. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I'm a Mandalorian again. Okay, and then in between all that, it's like they're expanding the universe, which I can really appreciate, especially what was done with The Last of Us. Same thing here, kind of, sort of, where it's. I mean, I know I complain about the side missions and side quests, but yeah, I can kind of see how like, or at least what they're doing, where they're, um, hitting the story points, but it's really more about like the. It's a bad word, but I'm gonna say it. Filler, you know, and I don't mean it in a negative context,
Mhm.
of course. Yeah, but um, it just took me a little bit to get into this
Sure.
season. Yeah, yeah. So that's my thoughts on the Mandalorian season 3. I like it. It's good.
Cool. Yeah. I have to say, I even though I was curious to hear what your thoughts on that third episode, I had a feeling you were going to probably be more positive on it than I was,
Yeah.
because that seemed like an episode that was more your alley. But yeah, so Mandalorian, great to have it back. But before we had the Mandalorian kickoff, well, I think for a couple of weeks they were both going on at the same time. So we had two Pedro Pascal shows going on for a bit,
Yeah.
with The Last of Us. I know, in our last few episodes, we were talking about how much we've enjoyed. I believe we made it up to episode 6, was where we last left off
Wow.
on. So there was a lot that
Missed the whole
happened.
2 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, or 3 actually, but
Three. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah. So like you're gonna hear my take as someone who was experienced the story, what happened for the first time. Well, I should say most of it, but then also Dane's thought of the adaptation they did for it. So yeah, I mean, just more of the same great stuff. The last episode 7 and 8 was just more great performances by Bella Ramsey as Ellie in the flashback episode. And I kind of knew before that was kind of based on the DLC they had for it, which, what was the name of that DLC again?
Left Behind.
Left Behind. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just showing about her friend, was it Riley? I'm still getting
Yeah. Riley.
remembering the names.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of
To be
their,
fair, it's a little bit of Left Behind DLC and a little bit of the origin comic. I guess Ellie's
oh, okay,
origin
that's right. I
comic.
remember
Yeah.
remember them saying how that it was also based off a comic that they had too, telling that.
Although the comic is kind of completely different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So
but
I'm sorry, Dave. I had a question for you regarding that,
oh
because
yeah.
it was a great episode, just establishing their relationship that they had, and then to see it all crashing down when Riley got bit, and how even Ellie getting bit too, but not knowing yet she was immune. And here's my question for you: how it ended here was both kind of them just sitting together and just kind of gonna wait it out and see what happens. Do we actually, whether in the comic or in the DLC, like see the outcome of that? Because I was wondering if we were going to go back to that moment and see what happens, where we see kind of Riley turn, but Ellie still stays the same, and if she is the one who has to kill her because of that. Does that ever, is that in the DLC or in the comic, and the show just didn't show that part of it, or is that something of how it was left in those stories as well?
So that whole episode is beat for beat the DLC. So no,
Oh, okay.
no, you don't. Yeah, but you assume, right?
Yeah.
And you see, they're playing with time and release dates and stuff. So like, you play The Last of Us, right? And then in the climactic scene at the end, Ellie talks about Riley, and she says she killed her, right? Um, so like you have that in your mind, and then you played or you read the origin comic, and then you played the DLC, and then it's like, oh, you get to see it, and you just assume what happens, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not too
you
hard to
know what
figure out,
happens.
but
Yeah, yeah, you know what happens. So like, no, they don't show it. Yeah,
okay. So that's what I was curious on, if it was just the show's decision to not really show all of it, or if they were adapting how it was in the game, which
yeah,
just seems to be the case then. Which
yeah.
they just do a great job of
Also,
adapting.
they did a great job of adapting that whole DLC where it's like, it's almost beat for beat the the story of Left Behind, even down to the masks that they
Okay.
put on in the Halloween store. I couldn't believe it. Like,
Same type of mask too, like a werewolf.
same
That's cool.
same a werewolf and a clown. Yeah, it's the same exact mask. I couldn't believe it. The only difference is there's no electricity and they can't play Mortal Kombat, and of
Okay.
course it's not Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. I was gonna say that was my favorite part of the episode, just seeing the joy they had, especially
Yeah,
Ellie getting able to play Mortal Kombat for the first time. I wish it was Street Fighter, but hey, it's still a fighting game. But the joy of playing a fighting game at the arcade is something I always had as a kid. So it was kind of cool to see that have that
yeah,
same joy at an arcade playing a fighting game, even though it was Mortal Kombat and not Street Fighter.
yeah. It's really great. So, but
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what you think about episode 8.
Episode 8 was a great one. I mean, the stuff that Ellie had to go through in that one, but it was terrible. But man, I mean, that character of David, like right when you see him, like, oh, this guy's going to be a horrible person, or a horrible villain, which he was. But man, again, just the series, the performances that were on display here. I mean, Ellie kind of taking it on herself, obviously, to save Joel, and thinking she's doing a pretty good job at first, but then kind of realized he's still young, and those David and his crew. I mean, she still wasn't able to best them, and ends up getting taken in by them, or she was able to escape at first, but when they come looking for her, she does her best to get out and protect Joel, which she succeeds in protecting Joel, but ends up getting captured because of that. But man, the stuff she had to went through when she was captured by them, the stuff David was saying to her and planning to do with her was just awful. But the way she handled it was just so great. And that line she had when she bites his finger and she finally tells David her name, it's just to say that so everyone can know who bit your blanking finger, was just such a great moment. But man, again, the ending of this episode was just, I mean, a powerhouse of emotional performance on display here. After she ends up killing David very brutally, but deservedly so for him. Just man, no words were spoken, but just the facial expressions that Bella Ramsey had as Ellie when she Joel grabs her from behind, and that's that fear and panic that she immediately has, thinking she's going to be taken back by one of David's followers, whatever, just back into that scenario again. But then the immediate relief and just joy that she had, that look on her face she had when she sees it's Joel, was just fantastic. And that hug they have, and the way Joel says, I got you, baby girl, just kind of saying, kind of really showing and expressing that, yeah, she is kind of like his daughter now. And just that bond that they have was just kind of really cemented in that moment there. It was just so fantastically done by both Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey there. It was just phenomenal way to end the episode and just cement that relationship they now have moving forward into the finale, which when it ended and then the preview started saying, oh, next week on the season finale, I went, man, already I thought it was going to be 10 episodes. They're on episode 9. And I sent you a text. Hey, Dane, is this enough time to really tell the remaining story of the game? Because I don't know. It seems like I was expecting 10. And then now that it's 9, is it going to be rushed at all? But you kind of reassured me and saying, no, they're kind of at the ending point of the game to where they're at here. So it should be enough time to do what they need to do to end the season and tell the rest of the first game story. But yeah, that 8th episode, I think, was one of the best of the season.
Good. Yeah, that was the before Henry and Sam and uh, I guess Bill and Frank. That was the one story I wanted to sort of get your opinion on
Uh,
because man, when you're playing through that part, especially after or when Ellie is trying to um, sort of lead the David's group away from Joel.
mhm.
Um, that's that's just one of those game moments or gameplay moments where it's like I I just feel like running away, you know. um, Same thing with that end scene where Ellie kills David. That whole scene is a boss fight. You know when they're in the diner and the
Yeah,
diner is burning down. Yeah,
mhm.
that's the David boss fight.
Figured.
Um, yeah, yeah, you can kind of tell when there's a boss fight and when there's not. But yeah, that's the real one that I wanted to get your opinion on. Especially David being a cannibal, all
Yeah,
those people being cannibals, David sort of being creepy with Ellie.
yeah, sort of.
uh,
That's a little
yeah,
generous.
yeah, but yeah. That's the big one that I wanted to get your opinion on. Also, the ending. Um, Very very controversial ending. I remember a lot of articles about like the ending of The Last of Us
Mhm.
Part One, but just give me your thoughts on episode 10, 9. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was great. I was anxiously waiting to see how they were going to do it. I will say, I know it was a short episode length time, and I kind of was expecting a little more. I mean, this is coming from someone who hasn't played the game, so maybe it was exactly how it was in the game, but just more time spent in the hospital in that moment, whether before or even when Joel was kind of going through trying to rescue Ellie, or just I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I was just expecting more time to be spent there. It sent to go by pretty quickly, but man, it was done really well. But I do have a big regret, Dane.
What is that? What is
remember when
that,
you were
Tim?
giving Remember when you were giving me your review of The Last of Us 2,
Yeah.
and you were saying, telling me what happens at the end of the first game, and you asked me, do you want me to tell you? I'm like, sure, I want to play the game, but it's probably gonna be years down the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know there was going to be a TV show. Well, if I did, I would have told you not to say anything because,
Yeah.
man, it would have been a complete like mind blower seeing that sequence play out, not knowing that was going to happen already. Just going through like Joel doing what he did, and again, it's that
Mm,
moral dilemma. Is like you can understand why he's doing it, but at the same time, he's doing some horrible things here. So it's just, I think that's what makes it so great and unique. It just really makes you think, like, put yourself in his shoes. Would you do the same thing to protect your daughter, essentially your daughter, who doesn't have a choice in what's going to be done to her, and she's going to not even knowing it? But at the same time, for the good of humanity, is it a sacrifice that has to be made? So it just raises all these different morality questions that really makes you think, and that's what's I think the genius of it. So I remember even when you were telling me about that, I was like, man, that's actually a pretty smart and different way to go about or way to tell a story. That's again, that's really one that makes you think. So just going off of what you told me, Dane, I was really anticipating and seeing how it was going to play out in the series. And like I said, I thought it felt like we could have spent more time there, but just the way like it's the somber music that's playing as Joel is making his way through the hospital, taking out the different members of the Fireflies and getting to the operation room with the doctors, and the doctor just walks up and he just, I'm not gonna say casually shoots him because the doctor he might have had a scalpel in his hand, I think, if I remember, but he was gonna go
yeah.
up to Joel to kind of stop him, so Joel did just shoot him right there in the head just to rescue Ellie. But then uh, the final moments with him and Marlene too after he shoots her, and this is another thing I'm curious about, how different this was for the game where uh, Marlene's talking to Joel, and I forget the exact line of dialogue, but it cuts to Joel in the truck driving, and you see him with Ellie. Like it, I believe it cuts to where you don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to give Ellie back, or is he going to go? Is he going to kill Marlene? But it just cuts to him in the truck but then it shows that Ellie is in the back. So it's like, okay, so we did take her, but you don't know what happened to Marlene yet. And then we go back to that moment where he does shoot her, and he just wounds her at first, and maybe she wouldn't have survived that, but even she just asked like for say like, just go, like let me be. But then he ends up just killing her because he knows she's probably her and the rest of the Fireflies are not going to stop till they find Ellie. So I'm curious of how different that played out editing wise, if that all happens in one sequence in the game, or if it is like the TV show and it cuts to Ellie and Joel in the truck, and then we find out later what actually happens, and he does kill Marlene there. But still, yeah, just great stuff all the way around. I mean, again, just an ending and a choice that just really makes you think about, like, what would you do in that scenario, like, as that relationship between a father and daughter, especially knowing how he lost his first daughter and doesn't want to do that again. And that's why it makes that moment in episode 6 where he's talking to his brother Tommy about how all he does is fail the ones he loves. And again, it sets up for why he's making this decision here. He's not going to let that happen again. So just really great storytelling, great performances here. And just a great way to end the season on. And it's like, it's almost, you don't know what's worse too. I mean, or what's the worst decision that Joel could have made, like here or then at the end, and he lies to Ellie about it, saying, what he told her, what really happened, that lie he makes up being true. And so it's like, you kind of hate that he's lying to her, but yet at the same time you understand why he's doing it. But you think also he should know better, that she can kind of see through it, where you can kind of tell she doesn't believe him. So yeah, just an episode and just an ending that just really makes you think about a lot of things. So yeah, I thought it was great, minus feeling that it felt a little too rushed a little bit in the hospital moments there, but overall just a great finale to the series.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you that hospital sequence kind of went by too fast, but that's essentially just gameplay. That's a gameplay problem.
Of course, yeah.
They just had to cut it down. You can't gamify a TV show. But yeah, that last sequence with Marlene and Joel, that plays out scene for scene, cut for cut, how it does in the game.
Wow.
Yeah. So you kind of don't know what happens.
Yeah.
For a little bit, and then you hear Ellie wake up from the what is that called? Anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I will say, or I guess, sort of like getting you prepared for season 2 or part 2 or whatever we're calling it. It's, you gotta remember that doctor that grabbed the scalpel, and you've got to know that this is the end of the Fireflies, right? Like when you meet the Fireflies in the game, they're really struggling. This is their last stand, really. Like, they're falling apart, not just in Boston, but all over the place, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm. And
then Joe kills Marlene, and that's the end of the Fireflies totally. Yeah, so that's all you need to know. Oh, and of course, what Joel tells Ellie at the end of the game, or the TV show, where he lies to her. But yeah.
So,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I remember the big thing that you tell me what happens in The Last of Us Part 2, which we won't say here. But like other stuff, I don't remember too much as far as like what leads up to it, certain scenarios. So how the game picks up at the beginning. So that I'm going to try to stay spoiler free on. But even though I know the biggest thing that happens, but it's still kind of nice to go into it probably a little more fresh than I would for the first game. But
let's see. Trying not to spoil anything for you. I'm just thinking it through my head.
So I won't be going back to listen to
it.
our old episode where we reviewed The Last of Us Part 2, so I can not remember or get spoiled on some of the things that you mentioned in that game, besides the big one.
The last thing I'll say about The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, and then Season 1, Season 2. Season 1 is based on, I mean, it's explores the theme of love, as you can tell, right? How you can love somebody, and then how that love can sort of turn toxic, and you do stupid things. At least, other people looking in on what you're doing, right? And then the second season, or the Part 2, is about hate, right? Like hate, anger, revenge, but ultimately
The dark side.
ultimately it's about forgiveness. And that's what a lot of people had a problem with. A lot of so-called fans of The Last of Us. It was more about forgiveness than it was about revenge, I guess you could say. I wonder if season 2 is going to be as controversial as part 2. It would be interesting to see.
Will they change certain things? But
I hope not.
They kind of said they're going to do the same thing what they did with season 1, change things where they think it could be better, but still follow the main narrative and stories that was told in the games. But here's the thing, Dane, I'll ask you, because I think I've heard them say that they're going to cover The Last of Us Part 2 maybe in multiple seasons, where maybe seasons 2 and 3 will cover the whole game. Do you think the game has enough stuff to warrant multiple seasons? Yeah, okay.
There is a lot of stuff that the game barely touches on, because you have to focus on these two characters, Ellie and Abby. And so there's a lot of stuff to mine in The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
So I'll just give my overall thoughts and just make it quick, because I want to talk about what you think about the game, Tim, because I know you started playing it. This is definitely one of the best TV shows I've watched. I rank it right up there with Watchmen, the Watchmen television show. Based on the game, comic book, but they add so much more to it. And that's what I really appreciated. They added so much to it, like just even like the smallest, littlest thing, like making Sam deaf, to show that, unfortunately, this is tragic. This is so sad that once you are infected, there is still a piece of you inside of you, because he's still deaf, right? Just little things like that, and of course expanding, the Bill and Frank story. I mean, I couldn't believe how much they mined off of, just a piece of paper that you read. And it's crazy that they put this whole story and they tell this sort of like over years, over decades, love story between these two guys that you would never have gotten in a video game, right? Because there just wouldn't be enough time, and you have to stick with the main characters and you have to gamify it. And I've got to say, the greatest, and another thing they expanded, before I get to that, another thing they expanded was Sarah's story, Joel's daughter.
That's right.
Because as you know, in the beginning of the game,
now I do.
You meet her, and then unfortunately she dies, right? But then now you get to spend some time with her and see that she is like this fully formed person that has a life and, helps the neighbors out, does all these sorts of things. And then what happens in the game happens, right? But what I do love, and this is such a small, insignificant thing, is showing the origin of the virus. I think it was the cold opening of episode 2. Second episode, where it's like it's originated in Indonesia, and just seeing that scientist and like doing the autopsy on that woman, and then her fear when she says, there's only one thing you can do is to just bomb the city. That's all you can do. There's no cure. And they set it up with that first cold opening where it's like it shows how like a fungus can sort of like jump into the human space, right, and infect humans. I those two cold openings are probably some of my favorite things of the show. And you followed up with Joel saying it's probably an everyday ingredient and an everyday product that spread all over the world and infected everybody. I think in the game, don't quote me on this, but there's the origin of the cordyceps is somewhere in South America, and I don't think you get that much more from that. So it was great to actually see, like the origin of the virus. I mean the fungus, and then you have that first cold opening with that scientist on that TV show, saying how scared he is of like the fungus sort of being able to infect humans because there is no cure and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't even make a vaccine. And it's more scary than a virus, So that's some of my favorite stuff. And like again, I can't emphasize enough about like how much they expanded the story and how much I love it. How much I love that they did that, because some of that stuff you're just flying by, It's really nothing. And the things they added, like on the last episode where Joel is talking about this, how he got the scar, where it wasn't somebody shooting him, he tried to kill himself, right? And it's a really sad scene, and it's a really great addition to the character, I'd say. I know there's a lot of controversy with people that played the video game, where Joel is more vicious in the game than he is in the TV show, and they try harder to make Joel a sympathetic character. But I think you're reading too much into it. Did you see the hospital scene?
Right.
How he killed those guys and the doctor and all that stuff. But yeah,
the way he took out that part of David's group trying to find Ellie, where he sees that, and how
right, exactly.
they gave him the information, he still killed him anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I, as somebody that's a fan of games plural, Tim, because I like Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, especially Part 2. This show is pitch perfect, and like I said when we first started reviewing the show, Tim, I was totally negative on this. I couldn't be less of a fan of what they were doing. Just
the
because,
idea of it.
yeah, like, oh god, they're taking a perfect thing and they're ruining it by making it into a TV show or a movie, and we all know how those turn out. But yeah, I totally love this show. It's my favorite show of the year so far. I totally love it. There's nothing that even compares to it so far in this year. So yeah, as a fan of the game, as a fan of the of the TV show, I totally endorse it. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I would agree with you. Coming from someone from mostly blind for the story, except for the big ending, I absolutely loved it, and can see why it was so well regarded as a game, just for the story that it was telling. Yeah. So yeah, I would agree with you on that. But
yeah, it makes me curious about what they're going to do with season 2. I don't think season 2 is going to be part 2, right? Because
at least not all
Bella
of it.
Ramsey, Bella Ramsey is a little too young, because I think there's like an 8-year time gap between 1 and 2.
Oh wow, that big.
Yeah, so Ellie's in her early 20s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in part 2.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a while, I think. Yeah.
Unless they just cut it down with like this much time hasn't passed, or do you think that's crucial to the story?
I think it is crucial. I think it is crucial to the story that time has passed. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, but Laura Bailey was in the final episode.
Yeah, I heard on the podcast, the official one they have, I heard that. Yeah, she was one of the nurses there in the hospital.
Yeah. It's great to see her, especially after all the crap she took in part 2.
Like it's not the actors. If you have a problem with the story, it's not the actors' decision.
Yeah, it's not the actor's fault. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if the whole story of part 2 is going to be as controversial as it was when The Last of Us Part 2 came out. Because
see if TV audiences react better to video game audiences.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's a great thing that such a complex story can be told in a video game medium. I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah, totally. No, it's great that that video games can do that and almost have that effect.
I
wish people would react to it more rationally, but
yeah, but you know what happens and what people expected to happen or what people expected Ellie to do after, and she doesn't do it. So yeah.
Well,
anyway,
we'll see.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah. We'll see what my reaction to it be when I play the second game. But as you said, right now I'm finally started playing the first one. I got The Last of Us Part 1. So yeah. So I know we're talking about how I'm judging my progress on it right now. I'd say I'm at episode 4, getting close to episode 5, I think, to where I'm gonna meet Henry and Sam.
You're in Philadelphia.
Yeah, so I just finished yesterday. I was playing it where they were in the hotel, the ruined hotel moment, and Joel just gave Ellie her own gun. He had the part where he gave her a rifle to have her cover him as they cleared out some of the enemies there.
Yeah.
So I just finished that sequence.
I see. Wow, Tim, you're really early in the game.
Yeah, well, I haven't played it as much as regularly as I would like. You know, me and playing video games is a slow affair, but
yeah.
I am
what
really
do you think so far, Tim?
I'm really enjoying it. I mean, gameplay wise, it's like nothing revolutionary or game changing. I mean, it's your typical third person action game, but it's still fun though. It is more stealthy than I was expecting. I am finding myself taking out enemies stealth wise more than using weapons because they are so scarce and you kind of have to preserve it more. I really feel I don't want to waste my bullets unless I really have to. And save them from clickers. And what are the big ones called again? Is it
upload? Wow, bloaters.
Bloaters. Like for some, I wanted to say boomers, but I know that wasn't it. But
it might have been boomers. Yeah,
I don't think so.
I can't remember. Yeah.
But it's like make sure I save my weapons and stuff for them because that's when I'm really gonna need it. Mm-hmm. So it does make you think of like how you want to do and play and take out enemies. So I try to do as much stealth as possible. But I mean, really, I think what the game, at least from my point of view, is known for was its storytelling and characters, and it's really great experiencing that on the gameplay side of things and seeing those differences. I will say it's probably gonna be one of those things. I might be a little more biased towards the TV show because that was my first exposure to the story, and I really loved what they did with it. So when there's going to be certain things that play out differently in the game, so far I'm kind of leaning more towards enjoying how the TV show did things. One thing, for example, is Tess's death. How that was done in the TV show, I think, was more impactful and meaningful than it was in the game, where at least how I played, I didn't even see it happen. I was trying to make my way out, and before I got to the top, she was already dead. Because I guess if you go there quickly, can you like try to help her out and shoot the enemies, the soldiers going in there?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
no,
things like that. I thought the show did things better. So we'll see if it's more of a mix as I go further in the game. Maybe there'll be some stuff in the game that I think does better. But right now, I think the TV show, for the stuff I play through, I've enjoyed more. But at the same time, being impressed with how the TV show adapt certain scenes and elements from the game really, really well. So yeah, I'm having fun with it. One thing I will say that the TV show or the game is doing better than the TV show did was having Ellie tell more jokes from the pun book. There's more of that in the game. And I also did miss, even though they did a whole different change with Bill. I loved the jabs Ellie would take at Bill and making fun of him as
Yeah.
you're running around with him and trying to make your way to the car. So little things like that were fun stuff
Yeah.
that the game had that the TV show didn't have. But it's still just great experience. And it looks fantastic on the PS5. The new build they did for it looks amazing. Did you replay it when they did that version when it came out?
Just the beginning part.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought it. I just wanted to see what it looks like, and it looks gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe how good it looks, because you hear these, remasters and whatever, and it just looks like a slightly better version of like the original Final Fantasy VII characters, right? But like it looks like it looks like the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Like that big of a jump.
Yeah, that big of a jump. Yeah. One
Yeah, 'cause
scene. I mean,
there was other versions out there, like free versions I could play, like The Last of Us remastered for the PS4 or the PlayStation 3 Classic. It was like, I want to play it as best as it could be. And
yeah,
even though it was like, it's a $70 game, but I got it on when it was having one of its sales, so I got it for like $25 off or something like that. So it was definitely worth it. I have no regrets paying for to play this version of it because it looks phenomenal.
what was I gonna say? Now that I think about it, you should have just played part 2.
You play it first?
Because yeah, just play part 2. Yeah, because I mean, it's pretty much the entire story of the game. Season 1.
I can't do it. I gotta play the first.
You gotta play part 1, and then you gotta play the DLC, and then you gotta read the comic book, and then you gotta play part 2.
Yeah, I gotta do things in order. I wouldn't feel right doing it any other way.
I mean, the main reason why is completely selfish, where it's like, I want to know how you because you're so attached to these characters, right?
Right, yeah, that's the big thing.
Like, you like Joel and you like Ellie, and I want to see how your reaction is to what happens in the game. Yeah.
I can understand that.
Yeah, and you were mentioning how, like, you're being cautious with like your ammo, and because there's so much stealth stuff you got to do and things like that. In part 2, you can just run straight through a level and just reach the end. Yeah, they give you that choice. It's a little more open world level.
Okay.
Esque. Yeah. And
interesting.
Yeah, there are whole fight scenes that I just ran through. I was like, nope, not today. I'm just gonna get to the next checkpoint. But yeah,
well, that's good to know. Moving forward.
I'm glad you're liking it, Tim. I'm glad you're liking it.
Yeah, I just gotta make sure I beat it before Jedi Survivor comes out. I got a full month, so that's hopefully should be enough time for me. But with me, you just never know.
Yeah. Is Jedi Survivor gonna be standard 60 frames per second, or are they going to give you the option, like, oh, do you want things to look pretty, or do you want better frame rates?
Not sure. I haven't read on that, but aren't most games now giving you the choice? So
yeah,
I imagine it will be.
Why? Why?
Maybe one of these days it'll just be you can do what the developers want it to be. You don't have to make that hard choice.
Maybe with the PS7.
2 more console generations from now, this won't be an issue. But yeah, Last of Us.
Sorry, I forgot to mention before we end the Last of Us talk. I really enjoyed seeing Ashley Johnson. As Ellie's mom. Yeah, because I can't remember. I think she's just referenced in passing. I don't think you interact with anything in the world, that triggers a memory, and they talk about her. She's just in passing. But it was so great to actually see her, and unfortunately she gets bit and then has Ellie gives birth to Ellie. So that was great, and I'm so glad they left Ashley Johnson for the last episode.
Yeah, it was a cool way to have her be involved with it. I keep hearing him talking about too. Oh, she gave birth to the character of Ellie twice, just in her original performance, and now literally gave birth to her in the TV show.
Yeah.
So it's just cool that they're finding ways to have the video game actors be involved with it too, to kind of show their respect for them and what they did and contributed to the Last of Us other franchise and being the ones who kicked it off.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Troy Baker. He doesn't sound anything like Joel.
No, that's just a testament to his voice acting talent.
Yeah, or the Joker. He doesn't sound like the Joker.
Or Batman too. He does
or
all.
Batman. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So obviously, big fans of the first season of The Last of Us. It was a great TV show to kick off the year of 2023 with, and definitely looking forward to more. But with that, I guess that'll do it for this episode. Was a lot of great stuff to talk about on this one. So good to be back as always.
Yes, it is. Hopefully, no more surprise trips.
Or delays.
Yeah. It sucked, Tim? It was freezing cold and it was raining.
Oh yeah, everyone talks about Los Angeles, California. It's always hot. Not this winter.
Yeah,
it's a nice change of pace.
Oh, it's raining where you are too, or
what? It was raining this week. Yeah, we're supposed to be having rain tomorrow also. So I'm enjoying it while it lasts because I know it's not going to last for a good amount of time, and it'll just be the same crazy hot weather probably from April to next November. So I'm trying to enjoy this cold weather while I can.
Well, if it rains, Tim, just look at it as for all California people, if it's raining where you are right now, it's a free car wash.
It just makes your car more dirty. By being honest.
Well, anyway, go over to the BatmanUniverse.net, Facebook.com/BatmanUniverse. Show us Twitter. I mean the Batman Universe's Twitter handles at Batman Universe. The show's Twitter handle is at Bat-Fans Podcast. Tim's Twitter handles at TimG311. My Twitter handles at DaneSaysBanana. Rate and reviews on iTunes. And if you want to email the show, you can email the show at batfanswithoutpants@gmail.com. So with that, like we say at the end of every single episode, Tim.
We love each and every one of you with all of our Last of Us loving hearts. For those who played the games, love the TV shows, haven't played the game, watched the TV show, but is now playing the game, we love each and every one of you.
Wow, that was a mouthful.
I covered a lot. I think I covered all the bases of how you can experience The Last of Us, right?
Read the comic book.
Oh, I forgot that one.
Yeah. Watch where they cut the cutscenes into like one big movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Whatever that is called. Yeah. That's the last one too.
Okay. All right. Well, two I didn't, or two versions that I missed. So I failed. Yeah. Sorry, everybody.
We'll see you guys next time, everybody.
See you next time.
Sunrise under Gotham moon. Crime Alley is a rich boy's tomb. There's a steaming cat, two faces of a coin. Scared